You know, your cousins are doing so well abroad. They've really made something of themselves.
I just got promoted again. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's paying off.
I can't believe how much I've accomplished since moving here. It's been an incredible journey.
Anaya loved her family. She truly did. But sometimes their love felt heavy, like a beautiful shawl draped over her shoulders on a sweltering summer day. Her father, a well-meaning man, often spoke of her older cousins. They lived abroad, these cousins. They excelled in their studies and careers. They were, in his eyes, the shining example. Anaya felt the pressure constantly. It was there in his casual comparisons, in the way he talked about their achievements. She knew he wanted the best for her, but his words, however unintentional, planted seeds of doubt in her heart. She began to question her own path, her own dreams. One afternoon, sitting on the steps of the local library, Anaya made a decision. She wouldn't be the daughter who followed the well-trodden path. She wouldn't live in the shadows of her cousin's successes. She would leave her studies. She would buy a one-way ticket. She would find her own way. It wouldn't be easy, she knew. But in that moment, the weight of expectation lifted slightly. A spark of excitement, of fear, of pure, unadulterated hope flickered in its place. This was her chance. This was her time. This was her life. The moment Anaya stepped off the plane, the air felt different. It was a humid, chaotic embrace, a symphony of unfamiliar scents and sounds. The city throbbed with a frenetic energy that both exhilarated and intimidated her. This new world was a stark contrast to the familiar rhythms of home. She had imagined this moment so many times. She had pictured herself confident and ready, striding through the airport with the grace of a seasoned traveler. But the reality was different. The reality was a suitcase that felt impossibly heavy, a passport clutched tightly in sweaty hands, and a heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The first few weeks were a blur of activity. Finding an apartment, navigating public transportation, deciphering a new language, every task felt monumental. Anaya stumbled through each day, fueled by a potent cocktail of determination and sheer, unadulterated adrenaline. There were moments, of course, when the enormity of what she had done threatened to swallow her whole. Moments when the loneliness was a physical ache, when the fear whispered doubts in her ear. But Anaya held fast to the memory of that spark, that flicker of hope that had ignited within her on the library steps. She was here, wasn't she? She was living, learning, growing, and that, she told herself, was all that mattered.
Hey, let me show you how to haggle for these. It's really quite fun, you'll see.
Great work on that project, Anaya. I'll make sure the team knows it was your idea.
The world, Anaya learned, was full of contradictions. It was a place where kindness could be found in the most unexpected corners, where a smile from a stranger could feel like a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. There was the elderly woman at the market, who taught her how to haggle for fresh produce, her laughter echoing through the bustling stalls. There was the barista at the corner cafe, who, despite their limited shared language, greeted her with a warm smile and a perfectly pulled espresso each morning. But the world could also be a harsh teacher. Anaya learned this lesson the hard way, through a series of unfortunate encounters that left her feeling vulnerable and betrayed. There was the landlord who took advantage of her unfamiliarity with local customs, charging exorbitant rent for a dilapidated apartment. There was the colleague who, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, took credit for Anaya's ideas, her hard work. These experiences, though painful, chipped away at Anaya's naivete, revealing a core of resilience she hadn't known she possessed. She learned to trust her instincts, to read the unspoken language of a sidelong glance or a forced smile. She learned that the world wasn't black and white, but a kaleidoscope of shades, a tapestry woven from both light and shadow. And through it all, Anaya held on to the belief that for every soul determined to dim her light, there would be another, brighter spirit waiting to reignite her flame. The city lights twinkled outside her window, a million tiny stars scattered across the dark canvas of the night. Anaya watched them sometimes, a familiar ache blooming in her chest. It was a peculiar kind of longing, this homesickness. It wasn't just for a place, but for a time, for a version of herself that felt both distant and familiar. There were nights when she wanted nothing more than to dial her father's number, to hear his voice, steady and reassuring, on the other end of the line, to confess her doubts, her fears, her moments of crippling uncertainty, but she resisted the urge. This journey, she knew, was as much about proving something to herself as it was to anyone else. Instead, she found solace in unexpected places. In the pages of a well-worn book, in the melody of a street musician's violin, in the simple act of brewing a cup of tea and savoring its warmth. She discovered a strength within herself she hadn't known existed, a quiet resilience that bloomed in the face of adversity. The loneliness, she realized, was a necessary companion. It forced her to confront her own thoughts, to delve into the depths of her own being. It taught her to find comfort in her own company, to appreciate the quiet strength that came from within. And slowly, gradually, the longing for home began to transform. It didn't disappear entirely, but it softened at the edges, becoming a bittersweet reminder of all that she had left behind and all that she was building for herself.